Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Meta Cafe. Grab your cup of coffee or your tea, sit back and relax, and let's chat about the astrology, human design. I don't think we're going to talk much human design today, but tomorrow we will. But we'll also talk today about some of the Pleiadian earth energies. So I hope everybody's having a wonderful day. I'm actually less allergic today to something. I don't know what happened. Maybe it's the the antihistamines are finally kicking in. I don't know what, but my eyes, I'm not ready to tear them out of their sockets. I can see. I was able to put mascara on, thank God. The wind died down a bit, so maybe that helps and stops blowing pollen in my face. So, anyway, for those of you out there who have allergies, you know what I mean. Those days are horrible, right? You just want to tear at your eyes and you're rubbing them and you know better, but you're doing it anyway because it feels so good. Oh, God. So, but this too shall pass. Only another couple weeks and my allergies should be done. So I can bear with that. So, yesterday we had a great day. It was a fairly quiet day astrologically, so I felt sort of comfortable being gone for the day. I went to my grandson's eighth grade promotion, which they now call an eighth grade celebration, so as to not hurt the feelings of the kids who aren't moving on, but are staying back a grade. So, how interesting, right? Politically correct things are getting, even in our schools, which I think is interesting. So it was a wonderful affirmation. I sat there in the bleachers looking out over kids that are about 14 years old. And in the next 20 years, they're the ones that are going to be the leaders of this country and leaders, thought leaders, wisdom leaders, heading into our political leaders. In the next coming years, and I just thought it was interesting to see who was out there and what could we expect from them. And I know a lot of us have a lot of hope and a lot of ideas about what may come with that generation. So it was interesting to watch that generation as they're moving up into what will become their high school years when we get back into September. So today, let's say good morning to Debbie Hedden and Michelle Gay and Asa. It's beautiful to see you all out there this morning. Today is the summit day for me anyway, and the summit has been going on since June 11th, which was Tuesday, and will go on through the 16th on Sunday. And my part today is at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. We're going to be talking about how to release the dependence on your mind and why would you want to do that anyway. It's going to be fun. And there is also time set aside during the broadcast, during the live, for questions. So if you want to participate by asking questions, please do, because of course that is always interesting too. We learn a lot by the questions people ask. So if you're joining in today at 1 o'clock Pacific, 4 p.m. East Coast time, then you will be able to ask questions if you want to as well. All right, let's dive into what's going on today. Today might be the beginning of what is likely going to be a crazy week from now until about, well, let's see. I was looking at this before we got on air this morning, and I think until about the 24th or 25th of June. So we have about, what is that going to be? Almost 12, that's 12 days of a bit of craziness as we move into the 1 week of this particular month that is highly activated with lots going on, a full moon on top of that. And so today begins that process. But today isn't and I don't want to say that it's a bad week, right? I just want you to be prepared. It's going to be active. There's going to be a lot going on, some restructuring going on, and it may hit you personally, but it may also be something that you're seeing more in the outer world. And if it's in that outer world, there isn't much you can do about it except sit with it, right? And watch what's happening with that and stick to your own knowingness and your own world and what you want from yourself for yourself, and ignore what's going on out there. For example, I looked this morning, the first news story I see is 2 oil tankers out in the Gulf of Hormuz that were bombed or torpedoed. And they were Japanese ships, they weren't American ships, but it doesn't matter. The message is, we can mess up your oil supply. And of course, everybody believes this is Iran doing this thing. And we're already hearing that rhetoric building up. And it makes me go, ugh, are we looking at a military, strike in some way here in the near future? And of course, we don't want that, right? That is not what we want. So let's pray peace and let's keep ourselves clean and ourselves at peace so we don't feed into the mania, the crazy, the fear, etc., of the things that are happening in the outer world. So it feels like we're moving to the brink of something, but could it be the brink of peace as opposed to the brink of war? That's what I'm thinking for this week. Now, if we can get through this between now and the next 12 days in a peaceful way, I have high hopes for us then for 2020. But right now we're getting this taste of what the intensity could be for all of 2020 and from late 2019 until all of the end, to the very end, even into just January of 2021. So be watchful, but don't get sucked up into it, right? Don't get sucked into the drama. Just watch it, just from a distance. Be the objective observer and don't get drawn in to what you're seeing out there. The moon is in Scorpio today. While you were sleeping, it moved in. For those of you on the East Coast, anyway, it was just after midnight. For us on the West Coast, that would have been a little bit after 9 p.m. last night. And so the flavor of the moon has changed, right? Out from the energy of more diplomatic, tactful, cooperative Libra into the deeper, passionate, intense energy of Scorpio. And then that put it immediately into an opposition with the planet Uranus. So did you wake up this morning with butterflies in your tummy, right? Did you wake up excited, nervous, or anxious in some way? If you did, that's likely since passed. But I know I woke up at 4:21 this morning and it was light already. And I'm like, oh my God, what time is it? But it was only 4:21. And I had butterflies in my stomach, like that anxiety feeling. And I went, nope, everything. I checked in. I checked inward. I'm like, nope, all is well. So I knew when I can check in and I'm like, all is well within me, then I know it's likely something coming from the outer world. And indeed, it turns out it was. So if you've had that feeling already today, check in with yourself. And even if you have not had that feeling yet and it comes on later, check in. Is this coming? Is this some kind of indication that I need to work on for me? Or is this something likely coming from events going on in the outer world? If it's the outer world events, there's nothing you can do about it. If it's coming up from within you, then you further the conversation. What does this mean to me? What is this reminding me of? Why am I feeling this way? And move through what it is in its meaning for you. Now we have a couple of in your face sort of transits today and one that is sort of not so much in your face, but sort of in the distance underneath the surface. So let's talk about the in your face ones first, because I like those because they're obviously things that are happening to us. But the other ones drive some more of those feelings that we have when, it's just there, we have an inkling that something's not quite right, or there's, something more to the picture. And but first, let me just see. We've got some new people popping up here. Good morning, Diane Pegram. She says, I thought it was me. It was you, but it isn't about you. Likely, it's not about you. Londa, hey, I have no sound. Is it me? I'm thinking it might be you, Londa. I don't know what to say about that. And let's see. Asa says she has sound. That's good. Debbie's sound is fine. So it's probably something on your computer, hun. Elisa, good morning and blessings to you as well. Diane Pegram rebooted. All is good. Good morning, Colleen. So it's good to see you all out there. So let's talk about the major transit that for us on the West Coast is actually in effect later in the day. For you on the East Coast, later in the evening, but transiting over into the next day, and that is Mars in a trine to Neptune. So while Mars is a planet that we normally think of as action and activity and energy, when it comes into a conjunction or an opposition or a trine, sextile, any kind of aspect to Neptune, it tends to force the energy, the physical energy down in favor of an increase in our spiritual energy. So you may feel like, your body is telling you, I don't really want to go out there and garden. I really don't want to go do the errands. You might feel a little bit like you're forcing yourself into doing things physical. So it may be a call for you today to spend some time in rest or relaxation or contemplation of or educating yourself on something, spiritual work, yoga, meditation, reading. Maybe it is a day for less active outward and more action inward. So today also is a day for us to act from our intuition in a way that is, anytime we're dealing with Neptune energy, no matter what planet, you have to ask yourself, is this real or am I imagining this? Because Neptune sometimes blurs those lines between reality and imagination or fantasy. So the only real way that we have to look at that is to really learn to listen to our intuition, because your intuition is going to tell you the truth about what's real and what isn't real for you. So today, if we're acting from our intuition, we just need to do a quick check-in. Is this really my intuition? Or is this something I've imagined? Have I built something up in my mind to be true that it isn't? If it's that, then you can wait, right? You don't have to take action. This is not forcing us into action today. This is more like, if we listen to our intuition and we're sure, we can take action. If not, then we just wait until we can sort out, is this the imagination or our fantasy life? Is this the ideal, or is this something that's real, right? Is it grounded in reality? And the fact is, you've got Mercury, Mars, and the North Node all in Cancer, water, intuition, memory, right? We have Neptune in Pisces, which is also highly creative as well as imaginative as well as intuitive, right? So that's that energy. And now the moon in Scorpio. So we're creating what is a grand trine. Eventually it becomes that, a grand trine, which is an ease and flow of all of our faculties that you can consider your inner world, right? So all of the clairs, clairaudience, clairsentience, clairvoyance gets triggered, prophecy gets triggered, dreams get triggered, intuition is triggered, instinct is triggered. So there's a smooth flow of that. And we may not be able to see the outer world signs. Dude, what are you doing? I have a visitor, a cat from the neighborhood in my house here visiting with me. My cat hates him. I think he's as sweet as he can be, except when he's trying to eat my hummingbirds. But he comes to visit when I leave the doors open, and it was really hot in my house this morning, so I left the door open. So if he jumps up on me, you'll know why. Why there's a black cat in my house and not my usual Sadie calico cat. Visitors. So there is a call then for us to really get connected to what our inner knowing is. And this week, remember I said, I think earlier in the week, that mostly from human design, we're all reflectors this week. So we are taking in all of the energy and information from our outer world and moving it into our centers, and sort of seeing by reflection what's moving through us. So in your interactions with other people, this is happening in just your own mind, right? And here's where we have to release. Interesting that I'm speaking on this topic today, where we have to release our dependence on our mind. Our mind is quick to make connections and to draw conclusions and to decide what it is it thinks that we need to do. And if we choose to take actions on those, on our thoughts, then we may find ourselves really coming up against the inner dynamic that's telling you, no, not that direction. Don't go there. So pay attention to your inner dynamic. Now, I told you that that's a good one. That's one of our good ones going on. The second good one today is Venus in a sextile to Chiron. So Venus is sitting at 5 degrees of Gemini. So last Saturday, remember, she moved into Gemini. She's wearing her more talkative, curious garb in this particular relationship. She's now chattering, right? She's communicative. She's taking on information, and then she's passing on that information. And today she happens to be sextiling Chiron, which is sitting at 5 degrees of Aries. So we're transmitting and communicating healing energy today. So we can learn from one another. right? You can learn, even if you're listening to this talk and I'm doing a reading for someone else, you may have that stellar aha that goes off in your own mind that says, oh my gosh, now I get it. That's what this is all about. We're drawing conclusions from one another today, healing from one another. And remember, Venus is in Gemini. And so we have healing power in our words and healing power in our minds. We have to watch our thoughts. What are we thinking about? What are your thoughts on? Is it on healing, or is it on the irritation that happened between you and a loved one today or last night even? So what are we thinking about, and then what are we saying? Right? That's important here in the healing process. But the potential is so high for healing here that I just really love that aspect of today's energy. And it may happen when you least expect it. It may happen in a relationship with a coworker. It could happen with a relationship that, a love relationship, a parent-child relationship, any kind of relationship today has the potential to have used words to heal. But then for you as an individual, it's also about the words you say to yourself and the thoughts that you are thinking. So watch that going on within your mind today. And now that takes me to the scritchy one. The scritchy one. The scritchy one is the sun in a quincunx to Pluto and the Venus Chiron sextile in a quincunx with the moon. So I'm going to show you sort of a picture here. Did I draw that? I did draw it. It's in brown. I don't know that you can see it. But first, let's take a look at the green triangle that I've drawn in here. Whoops. So what we have here up at the top, this is Chiron and this is Venus, and they're in a nice sextile relationship to one another. They form a stable base of business, right? So the business here is on healing and using thoughts and words matched with deeds to heal, either for yourself or, in working with others. But it points over here at the moon, and the moon at 5 degrees of Scorpio early in the day puts us in a quincunx or a finger of God or a yod. So there could have been something that happened this morning early enough or right around now that triggers you. And in a trigger, the quincunx demands an adjustment. It demands that you change the way you're thinking about something, the way that you're speaking about something, and turn it upside down, essentially. Turn it on its head. Don't let it take you into an emotional funk based on just a thought, right? Because thoughts are capricious. They move in and they move out, and they move in and they move out. But if you latch onto those thoughts and make them a pattern, then it creates a neural pathway. So if the thought comes in that you don't know what you're talking about, or you are in a crappy relationship based on whatever, disagreement you might have had with somebody, and then that thought becomes a drumbeat and you keep thinking it, then you create a neural pathway in the brain to always expect almost that kind of interaction with people. So you got to be very careful then, we all do, about what we're thinking and what we're saying. And today we have that opportunity to make that adjustment. Now the other quincunx that's occurring, and a quincunx is a 150-degree angle between planets. It is one that forces us to adjust, to sacrifice something, to, finally just relinquish, let go, surrender, and move on. The sun is at 22 degrees of Gemini today in a quincunx with Pluto over here at 22 degrees of Capricorn. So here we have structure and form and, destruction. Remember that one? Because it's, we still have those three hanging out with one another. And we have over here new ideas and possibilities, and the idea of possibilities versus destruction might be that we have to let go of something. We have to be able to move forward. And in this, we have to adjust. There may be a setback. We may be feeling indecisive about something. We may need to let go in order to be able to move forward. And that is where the rest of these transits today, Mars trining Neptune, which give us that access to our intuition, become oh so important in helping us determine what that setback might mean, what indecisive, what are we waffling around, and what do we need to let go of in order to make that move forward. So while this isn't necessarily a bad day, right? It's not at all, really. Um, it does begin this process of some of the energies to follow in the next 10 to 12 days, including the full moon that is on Monday, the 17th. And we'll get to talking about that later next week, or yeah, we'll probably talk about it tomorrow and on Monday. So be ready, right? Start working with these things within yourself now. I want to say that I don't know, I was waxing poetic, I guess, in my head this morning. That saying, something wicked this way comes. Well, I want to say this is something healing this way comes, right? We have an opportunity to look under the hood, to look deeper beneath the surface and see what needs to be healed. What is worth healing? What is worth letting go of, right? That's part of our work today. So I'm going to check comments here really quickly. Good morning, Londa. Let go, let God, surrendering. I love that. Suzanne, it's great to see you, my friend. We haven't seen you in a bit. Go out and come back in. That works for me. I love that. That's great. And okay, nobody else is, I think I said comments that everybody else had said. So awesome, possum. Now let's take a quick look at the Pleiadian Earth energy for today, because I think it's also pretty interesting. Um, oh my gosh, Michelle, you're going to die. You say it's moving day, which I'm guessing you're moving from the one house back to the other house, but it's also moving day in the Pleiadian Earth energy. So how profound is that? Today is 3 moving. I don't make this crap up. Really, I don't. This is, look at the calendar. Let's pull it out. Let's look at it. We can see today is June 13th. Right here. I just dropped my other pen on the floor. 3 moving right here. We bring that in so you all can see. Today's June 13th on the Gregorian calendar. And here it's 3 moving on the Pleiadian Earth energy calendar. Woohoo. So 3. Remember, the 3 denotes the universal energy of the day. The universal energy of the day. 3 is about creating, right? It's about exploring your world. It is about leaning into that curiosity that wants to explore, and then the process of educating yourself while you're exploring. So creating something new, right? Thinking in new ways, behaving in new ways. That is the universal energy of the day. Now, the earth energy of the day is moving energy. And again, we have that same feeling, right, of exploring the world, of making change, of moving forward, of creating a new pathway. So it's all right and perfect. The things we want to avoid today, confrontations, right? I know that when you're moving, literally moving, in this case, Michelle, moving, confrontations can happen, right? You might get irritated with someone that's a helper. You might have, maybe something drops and breaks, things like that happen. Avoid confrontations today. Avoid blaming anybody for what happens today. And don't get yourself into pissing contests, right? Competitions. Today's a day to avoid all of that, staying in the flow and moving energy. Now, in the Mayan calendar, moving was equatable to Chichan, which was snake energy. And as the Mayans saw this day, it was the shedding of the skin, right? The letting go of the old in order to be able to move forward, right? A snake sheds its skin because it's outgrown the skin. So it points the way to growth, and the moving energy takes us to the potential for growth. You gotta love that, right? All right. Any questions? Michelle says, OMG, that's funny. Debbie Hedden says, I have much of that going on. Exactly that. Exactly. Lots of that. And this is why we're doing the Earth, the Pleiadian Earth energy calendar and astrology, because it helps us stay in that creative flow of the universe, the creative flow of what's happening on this planet. And what I find so interesting is when we get out of our own freaking way, we are in that flow, right? Michelle, you were telling me yesterday about how much was going on in your life and how much you had to do. And so it came down to the only day that you could literally move was today, because the rest of the week becomes, very busy. How awesome is that? I mean, almost, you're being forced into this particular day, but it puts you in the flow of the universe. Spectacular, right? I love that. um she says, oh, I'm going to try my hardest. My Chiron is coming to load the truck at 11. I know who that is in her life, and it's okay. Stay out of confrontation with that Chiron. Remember, Venus and Chiron, these are Venus sextile Chiron today. We can heal. We can learn from one another. Be open-minded, right? With that Chironic person. Okay. I want to show you something else that's happening we talked about on, what is today? Thursday. We talked about it on Tuesday. Is this opposition that is set up between Mercury, the north node, and Mars, and on the opposite end, Pluto, Saturn, and the south node. And it looks it's an angry looking slash here in the chart, right? If I threw away all the other lines in this chart, what we would see is this red going back and forth. That denotes an opposition, a 180-degree angle, right? A line, a straight line, an opposition, a teeter-totter, if you will, between these two energies. The energy of form and structure over here that's being forced to change, to destruct, to demolish, to be ready for restructure. And the restructure over here with Mars and Mercury and the North Node in Cancer is a kinder, gentler structure, a kinder, gentler world, a kinder, gentler way of being and of nurturing yourself, those in your world, your creations, right? Remember, we've planted seeds. It's springtime still. I'm very close to summer solstice, but okay. Or let's say you've planted those seeds and now you've got sprouts, right? What are we doing? We're nurturing them. I transplanted a bunch of plants the other day, so I'm having to go out every morning, look at them, make sure they're still where I wanted them to be, watering them a little bit extra because it's been warm, and taking care, nurturing. Thus it is in our own lives. Whatever it is that's being destroyed, destructed, or demolished in favor of reconstruction in your life is what it is that needs the nurturing now, what you need to take care of, what you need to love, right? And the seedlings that are coming up, it's time to nurture them, not smother them, right? I can't smother those plants. That isn't going to help them either. But nurturing them, keeping in mind that I need to treat them with kindness and gentleness and nurturing energy. So whatever's deconstructing might feel less than kind and gentle, but the new is more sustainable, is more kind and gentle. So that brings me to something that I found out in the schools. So yesterday, I was at my grandson's 8th grade promotion, but I also have a granddaughter in 2nd grade. And yesterday, she was voted with the most kindness award in her class. And I went, oh my gosh, these kids and these teachers, right? The teachers, they're tuned into this. I mean, she didn't come by this, the teacher didn't just, decide. Well, she did probably, but there's a force, an energy, a possibility of bringing this energy in of what is it that we really focus on and enjoy with one another? What is it? Well, there's kindness. So then giving the kids the opportunity, who is it in the classroom that most represents that? And I don't know what the other awards are. I wish I did, but I don't. So my granddaughter Amelia is getting the most kind award in her class. It's as if these teachers now are validating in the minds of these students that these are the values that we have. These are the ones that we want to pursue. These are the ones that we want to, reproduce, right? These are the ones that we want to move on, that we want to really embrace in our institutions, right? The institutions are the biggest ones taking the hit in the destruction and reconstruction world, because Capricorn represents the government. It represents the energy of any institution. So educational institution, the medical institution, the military institute as an institution, right? Not the soldiers themselves, but the military as an institution. Religion as an institution. All of those sacred institutions are in some sort of destruction, whether it is the entire institution being deconstructed or a part of it. All of them are under this pressure, and in favor of leading over to the North Node in Cancer, which is how do we take care of one another? How do we love one another? How do we be kind and gentle with one another? How do we nurture our weakest links? How do we nurture one another? So there's a lot of that, there was an article this morning I looked at about Bruce Springsteen, and it had to do with the military. And, he's one of those voices out there for taking care of our soldiers when they do return from a war or a battle of sorts, making sure that their health care is taken care of and that they have everything they need, that they're supported into transitioning into new careers, that they're supported with their health, and that they're taken care of financially. They've served their country well, and they need to be taken care of. So it's interesting. If you look out there with those eyes, you start to see the high side, the potential of where some of these destructive things, even in our government here in the US, some of this crazy stuff that we look at out there and go, oh my God, and how the high side would be the potential for something more nurturing and more aligned with our values. So it's fun to look at it that way. And it makes it better when you shake your head over something that feels so ugly out there, that this too shall pass, that we are moving in the right direction. Kathy Miller, good morning to you. She said, friend in 4-car. Oh, no. Friend was in a 4-car accident yesterday, but we'll be okay. That's awesome. Stay focused. Have a wonderful day. Stay focused on the good. Stay focused on their healing. That's the path. All right, everybody, that is it for me today. Wow, I was done earlier. Unless you have questions or something you want to bring up, don't forget 1 p.m. this afternoon, West Coast time, 4 p.m. East Coast time. I will be on the Change Your Mind, Change Your Life Summit today, talking about how to change your mind. Why would you want to change your mind? Why would you want to release the dependence you have on your mind? And how would that benefit you? Also, let's see, next week. No, it's not next week. Never mind. After that, I'll tell you about it. It's too far into the future. All right, guys, have a great day. And tomorrow we'll talk about the new Human Design Week. And we'll take up the weekend energy, and I'll start to prepare you for the next week's craziness. So in the meantime, take care. Have a wonderful day. I hope to see you all this afternoon. Bye.